Good morning. 7 o'clock in the morning. How early am I up? I want to fit this new battery monitoring system which I've bought off Amazon. I think it was £19. Let's show you some of the details here. We'll flick through the slides as I'm talking. So this is to monitor my batteries in real time and just see how accurate all my calculations were in a previous video that I did, which I'll show here. And I'm a big believer that all those calculations on paper mean absolutely nothing when you actually come to run multiple devices in the back of your van off your batteries. So what I'm going to do is put this monitor into the heart of the beast, somewhere around here. I'm just going to make a little template and a pattern and just screw it on and then wire it all in. And I'm going to find out exactly what the consumption is of everything as I switch it on. So quite an interesting video, I think. I like little geeky stuff like this. I'm also going to show you what happened at our latest bowling night. So I'll just play a 5-minute clip of that. Anyway, going to crack on, and I'm going to make a back plate for this little device. Catch you in the shed. I'm not lying, look. It's absolutely freezing cold. It's -2. And I am going down the shed. I am that keen this morning. I don't know what's got into me really, to be honest. But there's no frost on the shed, so that's good. So we're going straight in here. And you know what the first job will be, don't you? I'll be turning that on. Over to the panel. Oh, we've got to put the power on first. I use just an ordinary power supply. I don't care for a battery. Bit controversial in the comments. And there we go. It'll be roasting in here soon. Right, let's get some lights on. Boom. Right, let's cut this back plate. So I haven't got anything the right colour, but this bit of white PVC will do, and I might spray it black or blue. I'll spray it blue. Here we go, start with a flat bit of this UPVC. It's windowsill, I think. Just roughed out a hole, and it is rough. There we are, that's what it'll look like. Do I show you the back? Oh, it's rough, it's rough. Right, let's cut it down to a bit better size and stick some paint on it. Every good plan is flexible. That's a better job, isn't it? Dare I show the back? Yeah, why not? Much nicer. So now I can drill a hole just big enough to seat that in the heart of the beast and screw that on. I do regret not drilling the holes first though. This stuff is really awkward and it twists like crazy, so I'm just gonna have to go careful. So I've shut down the old Chinese heater. I'm waiting for it to go through its cycle, then I'll switch the power off. Simple as that. Found some old 4-core cable. That will do for wiring this in. Right, while I wait for this heater to shut down and everything to do its cycle, let me show you what happened on our latest bowling night. Me, baby, and the boy. Some people are saying that I only come 10-pin bowling once a week now because they sell Guinness. Not sure that's true. Bowling, love it. Cheers everyone. We'll let those two idiots waste their money on arcade games, which I don't play. Yeah, so we are coming 10-pin bowling every week now. We really enjoy it. And that's all down to the Stealth Camping Alliance, because we were looking for something to do on a overnight stealth van trip. And now we're doing this every week. It's not very dear, it's about 20 quid for 3 games for all 3 of us. Love it. Absolute idiots. They're a little bit special. If you put them in something with flashing lights, it keeps them entertained for hours. Unbelievable. First bowl. Oh, that's what it was. Winner, winner, 3 in a row. There you go. If you want to see more videos like that, go and check out Steve the Transit Camper, and you can see us doing stealth camping all around the town and on the coast, and we're going to France this year as well, so we'll be doing a stealth camp there. So go take a look, give us a subscribe if you fancy it. Hard word to say that, subscribe. So I'm in the van now. I've put the heating on, so it's going to be a bit noisy, but I don't care. I'd rather be warm. Right, let's get cracking. So we've got our temperature monitors for our batteries there, and we've got our total voltage, which is down a bit now because the heater's come on, and we'll be able to see exactly how many amps that heater draws when it starts up. We are charging at the same time. I've just plugged that in, so I think might try and get it up there somewhere reasonably high. It's going to be flush, so when you're sat on there, it's not going to affect where your legs go or anything. So let's crack on. So I've cut the carpet out. That's roughly where I want it. I'm just going to cut that out now with the multi-tool. There we go. That took about 4 seconds. If you haven't got a multi-tool, get one. That'll go on there. Baby will insist that that's absolutely level, so I'll be making sure that's level. But now let's look at the wiring. My wiring isn't the neatest, I've got to be honest, but it is safe. There's a fuse for every gadget that I've got in the van, and they're all rated correctly, these fuses. So let's have a recce and see where we are. So if you buy this off Amazon or wherever you get it from, you might get it cheaper on eBay. Have a look at the Amazon site, because it shows you firstly how to wire in the shunt. I'll show you what that is in a minute. And then you wire in the meter from the shunt. So let me show you the shunt. And that's what they call the shunt. Now this goes on the negative side of the battery. So one of these to your battery terminal, the other to your negative return of your battery. If you're using 2 batteries, make sure you're on the last negative going back to the van, or to the chassis of the van. So in my van, there's the big fat negative which goes to the chassis of the van, and we'll follow that through and we'll see which side that comes from. So that sneaks along the back of all this ultra neat wiring, drops down behind the battery there. You can just see it through that gap, and it comes up, and that's the one. So that is the last negative going to the chassis, and that's the side you want to put your shunt on. So before I disconnect the negative on my leisure batteries, I've switched the heater off, because that'll just cut out automatically otherwise. It doesn't do them any harm, but if you can avoid it, do avoid it. And then I'll be able to isolate everything in the van, make sure it's all off, and then disconnect the negative. Usually get a few sparks. So I've got an isolator in the van which makes sure everything in the back of the van goes off. So that isolates now between the leisure batteries and the ordinary battery in the back of the van under the seat. Okay, so that turned out to be a lot more complicated than I thought it would be. So I've had to move the battery all the way up, and I've put the shunt in there. So that's the earth going all the way back to the chassis, or the negative back to the chassis. And I've tidied up these wires a little bit, put them all on one terminal. So the whole thing looks a bit neater. Isolator on, this is always a nervous part. Whee. So my lights have come back on. Let's get the heating back on. A word of warning, I am not an electrician. I used to be an electrician and a machine tool fitter, but that's a completely different game. That was more electronics. So this is not a how-to video, this is how I do it. Any comments on what I've done wrong, don't hesitate to make them, because I know you don't. So we're doing some wiring up now. Red and the blue I've got. Red to the live, Not sure where the blue one goes yet, but we'll work it out. So it does show the negative from the unit going to this one here. I'm not taking that off again. Will it make any difference on the measuring? I'm not sure. So I've gone straight to the terminal. Not sure really. I'm not sure whether that's just to power the unit, because the unit's come on, but it might have something to do with measuring the resistance, but we'll have a look. Oh, a cup of coffee on there. Right. After lots of messing around, let's switch this on. And let's see what's going on now. Ah, brilliant. So we have got something working. So this is powering up the old heater. Slurp on the old coffee. Look at that, 5 amps already. So that will be the glow plug warming up. I reckon these get up to about 10 or 11 amps. Well, looks as though it's settled on about 8. We'll come back to that in a minute, but I will show you. Spot the deliberate error before. I had all the loads this side, obviously, so it can't measure anything. So all the loads are on that side now, where they should be. And that took me about 25 minutes to work out what I'd done wrong. But we show all the mistakes on this channel. There's no messing around. Yeah, so we've stayed at 8.25 there. Sorry, I was looking elsewhere then. It's coming down a little bit now as the pump kicks in. The power to the glow plug will be decreasing, and hopefully it should just fire up. Awesome. So the heater is on tick over now, and it's running at 0.5 amp, so that's great. So that tells me that this is working accurately, because that's what it says on Google, and it's nice and warm in the van. And it's just picked up a little bit of pace because the temperature's dropped, and so the amps have gone up a bit. This is fantastic. Now this is switching the internal light on in the van. Here we go. And that's just a bank of LED lights. So that's using roughly 0.5 amp, isn't it? On and off. Okay, let's switch that off. Should drop back down, and it has. Okay. So, living and learning as you do. When I wired my van, I took a live, straight from the live terminal of the battery into the back of the van. Use that as my bank to power everything that's in the back, but then I used the chassis of the van as the negative. That was a big mistake, because now my negatives I can't put through this shunt, so I don't know what power I'm using. So plan is, they're all connected to one big earth screw or chassis screw in the back of the van. I am going to get a cable for the negative side and bring it back to the shunt, and that way everything will be independent of the leisure batteries, which I should have done in the first place. I know, for all you electricians out there, yeah, didn't really think that through. I'm so used to working on cars and you know, whenever you put something new on to get the negative, you just screw it to the chassis, don't you? But when I put this van together, I didn't realise that it needs to be kept separate from the chassis negative. So that's my next big job. Don't think I've got time to do that today, but I'm going to order some cable and run a cable to the back. Not too bad a job really, just a bit of a pain, but we'll get that sorted. I've screwed it all on now. Looks okay, doesn't it? I may not be the best electrician in the world, but I think I do a neat job when I put different things in. Right. So I've just switched it off now. Let's see what happens now. Amps go up because the fan's running faster. And that won't be the glow plug anymore, I don't think. Unless the glow plug comes on to get rid of excess diesel, maybe. Not sure. Maybe it does. But there we are. Yeah, the amps go up. I'll come back to you in a minute. So you can have it with the light off as well, look. Nice bit of blue. Bit of blue for the mums and dads. And there we have it, it's on its final blast now, just the fan going now. And then that will switch off. So looking back at this terminal, so all the loads will be that side. It measures between this point and this point, which goes to your meter, obviously. That's just the negative power. And you've also got it going to the positive power. These ones that are left on, that's the roof solar panel, negative. That's the main negative which joins the batteries. So that's all we've got on there. Oh, and this one is for a charger. Okay. On that positive side, we've got the positive for the display, as I said, the link for the batteries and the split charger, all these big ones. And this red one is just for the battery charger. Now I'm wondering whether this one should go over to that red terminal. What do you think? Does that make any difference? I don't know. Might do a bit of research on that. Put it in the comments if you know the answer to that. But the aim will be, maybe by the end of today, I'm not sure what cable I've got, is to make these batteries completely independent from the battery which is under the seat and from the chassis of the vehicle, because that was clearly a mistake. So with everything switched off in the van, apart from that gauge, which is the voltage and the temperatures, I'm using 0.06 of an amp. Is that normal? I'm not sure. Is that a parasitic drain? Maybe. We'll pull some fuses out and have a look when I've done the negative cable properly. So this is the final part. I've got most things connected. Obviously I've got to order that neutral wire, but there is a tiny little drain on this, and if I pull that fuse out, maybe not that one actually, thinking about it, let's try again. That one, my parasitic drain has gone, and that is the display for the Chinese heater. So it's not using much, is it? Okay, so it's now 11 o'clock. Time has got away from me. I'm working tonight. But we're learning as we go along here. And I've made some mistakes while I've been doing my van. I'm honest enough to tell you what those mistakes have been. And one of those is using the chassis as a negative or an earth, whatever you want to call it. So I'll be ordering some cable, and I'm going to bring all of those negatives, which are connected to one screw at the back, and I'll bring them all back to that new piece of equipment that I've installed, and we will see whether there's a drainage anywhere else. So that's it for now. Thanks very much. You've been watching Steve the Transit Camper. I'm expecting the comments to be controversial. Take care.
Swerve all the time.
Sorry,
we lose
mate.
footage each
Makes
time.
the editing worse.
Each time you swerve.